Yo, yo, yo. What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Westbound, and today I'm coming at y'all with another reaction video. I think I'm gonna react to probably 3 or 4 videos today. And then post them later on this week. Cause I got a lot to do this week. You know what I'm saying? And yeah. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright guys, today we are reacting to 15 weird rules the NBA forces on the players. Alright, this video is by The Riches. I'll have the link to the original video in the description. Let's get right into it.
The game starts with a jump ball. The players are tense and ready, and when that ball comes down, things get hectic. Whomever takes possession gets a huge bout of momentum right off the bat, and the fight for that advantage can be such a fracas that both teams lose sight of which side.
The Riches is very good at over dramatizing. Is that a word? I think over dramatizing everything.
Court they're supposed to be driving towards. If this happens and the referee notices within the first 24 seconds of play, they can call a foul on the offending team and restart the game if they so choose. If they don't notice within 24 seconds, play continues as normal with the side swapped. They'll be changed later in the second half as usual anyways. The rules are important, but so is the flow of the game, people. A good number of the NBA's rules were put in place precisely to keep the game moving along. One such rule, and one of the most well-known, is the 10-second free throw cap. Even for seasoned players, shooting a free throw is a high-pressure situation, and many of them have developed routines to get them in the zone. Whether it be superstition, ritual, or otherwise, it's become a big part of players' mental preparation. The only thing is, it can take a while and really slow down the pace of the game. Players like the Utah Jazz's Karl the Mailman Malone and in more recent years Dwight Howard are known for taking their time before taking the shot, which is why the NBA instituted a 10-second limit on free throw prep time.
I think this is when they called that 10 seconds.
On the other hand, the NBA also has a rule which might seem contradictory to keeping things moving along during a game: mandatory timeouts. In fact, the rule is more of a business decision for the league than it is a respite for the players, although we're sure they're grateful. 2 timeouts per quarter have to be called, with the expectation that each team will call one. The NBA does this to make room for advertisement breaks, which are obviously a major source of revenue for the organization.
Facts.
Accordingly, the first timeout in each quarter is the longest, 3 minutes and 15 seconds for a nationally televised game, or 2 minutes and 45 seconds for a locally televised game. And on the note of mandatory downtime, there's another rule which does exist purely for the players' benefit. It's no secret that a full season of regular NBA play can be brutal for players. With 82 games being played over roughly 180 days, that averages out to 1 game every 2 days. That'd be hard on anybody, professional athlete or not, which is why the NBA has a mandatory rest rule. During the regular season, players have to take 18 days of downtime, during which they can't participate in any team-related activities, including practices and meetings. They are, thankfully, allowed to work out or use the team's facilities, but it's got to be their choice. If we were in their size 12 shoes, we'd be taking those days off. As far as footwear goes, there aren't too many restrictions on what players can and can't wear on the court these days. And it's a good thing, because the sheer variety of kicks have made for some iconic fashion statements. The most notable, obviously, being the Air Jordan 1, which Michael Jordan wore despite its banned status by the NBA, using his Nike endorsement money to pay the fines.
Ones and 11s
have since been relaxed, and now team-colored shoes are allowed. But what aren't are the Athletic Propulsion Labs Concept Ones, sneakers which purported to contain jump enhancement technology. Whether or not this is true is up for debate, but in 2010, the NBA didn't want to take the chance. Despite the ban, or maybe because of it, the press caused a massive boost in sales. But as for performance in-game, the world will never know. A tried-and-true staple of in-game play is, of course, the screen. An offensive player stands beside or behind a defender in order to free a teammate to shoot, pass, or drive towards the net and score.
They're actually They're explaining a screen.
Constantly during a game, but the one place you won't see a player setting one up is out of bounds. As per official rules, a player can't have his foot off the court while setting a screen, nor can a player run out of bounds while being screened. The NBA likely instituted this rule as a safety measure to prevent players from accidentally knocking over fans, cameras, and the like. Funnily enough, rather than being called as a type of foul, the penalty for this is an out-of-bounds violation. The NBA player dress code is another subset of the rulebook, which designates a fair amount of players' fashion choices as out of bounds. On October 17, 2005, NBA Commissioner David Stern announced the implementation of the mandatory dress code, which made the NBA the first major professional sports league to institute that kind of a rule. In late 2004, the NBA was facing an image problem.
All that crazy stuff, they might have changed it now, but all that crazy stuff that they wear, they have a dress code. Yeah.
The Pacers-Pistons brawl, aka Malice at the Palace, which took place on November 19th of that year. With the dress code, Stern likely sought to bring a more professional appearance to the league, though many players and fans criticized it for being racist, as it banned a lot of clothing common to hip-hop culture. Still, players have since gotten inventive with staying within the lines, creating a new wave of men's fashion in the process.
I didn't even know that they
Another famous, if more localized ban on apparel happened in 2010 when LeBron James announced his departure from the Cleveland Cavaliers for the Miami Heat. This time, the NBA cracked down on fans and their choice of apparel at games. Why? Because there was so much hatred for James circulating at the time that hundreds, if not thousands, of jerseys, t-shirts, hats, and other apparel were being produced and worn to games. All of these feature derogatory language and images taking shots at James and his decision to betray his home team. At best, they range from jokes, insulting cartoons, and caricatures, all the way to "I hate LeBron James" slogans and outright slurs. In all fairness, we think the NBA made the right call in implementing this rule. Be cool,
this one
people.
kind of makes sense.
Enforcing proper behavior during games is often a tough line for an organization to walk. The NBA doesn't want to appear like they're stifling players and fans' creativity, but they've also got to stick to their principles and image. Another moment where the league took a hard stance was in September of 2017, in the wake of the protests which swept major sports organizations, following Colin Kaepernick's decision to kneel during the national anthem at an NFL game. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver issued a memo inviting teams to address fans about community issues at the top of games, but still made it clear that, quote, players, coaches, and trainers are to...
NFL did Colin dirty, dude. You know what I'm saying? That's something that kind of will, like I guess we'll always remember. You know, people that grew up in this generation and stuff like that, we'll always kind of, like, remember that, you know?
And line up in a dignified posture along the sidelines or on the foul line during the playing of the national anthem, end quote. Most of the time, rules need to be put in place which have nothing to do with lofty ideals like patriotism and players' ideologies. It's usually simple matters of practicality, and this was definitely the case in October 2001 when the NBA added a formal rule penalizing players for shattering backboards. If it happens during warm-ups, there's no penalty, but if it happens in-game during the course of play, the player gets slapped with a technical foul, so they can't be ejected from the game because of it. The NBA informally introduced the rule during the 1992-93 season, after Orlando Magic center Shaquille O'Neal brought two backboards crashing down with the force of his dunking prowess. The games in question saw massive delays, and in addition to the cost of repairing the backboards, the NBA wanted to make sure it didn't happen again. It's honestly possible that to do what he did, Shaq had the strength of 5 men, aka the number of players on each team allowed on the court at one time. And even though 5 is the legal limit, sometimes there is one thing better than 5 players. 6 players. On December 30th, 2008, the Boston Celtics played the Portland Trail Blazers. After a timeout, Portland's coach, Nate McMillan, put an extra player on the court. Before anyone knew what was happening, the team used the technically unfair advantage to score a basket. The referees called a technical foul, but at the time, there wasn't anything in the rules that said they could take the points off the board, so they didn't. But for anyone hoping to have found a new strategy, the NBA changed the rules the following summer. 6 is an important number for basketball, as it turns out. If a player commits 6 personal fouls in a game, that's the break point, and they're forced to sit out for the remainder. There is, however, a strange exception to the rule. If the team doesn't have any other players to substitute in because they've all also committed 6 fouls, then the player can stay in the game. It's a sort of free pass for being late to the party. The official NBA rules read, quote, "Said player shall remain in the game and shall be charged with a personal and team foul. A technical foul also shall be assessed against..."
I don't know how many of y'all like remember that game, but that game was wild. Like James Harden, and like at the end of the game, he hit a 3 and like
team. All subsequent personal fouls, including offensive fouls, shall be treated similarly, end quote. One kind of treatment the NBA definitely doesn't tolerate is abusive behavior. It's no question that throwing a punch at another player will get you ejected, fined, and possibly suspended depending on the severity. But something not a ton of people know is that these rules also extend to the ball. Granted, the penalties are less severe. If a player makes contact with the ball with a closed fist at any point during a game, it results in a turnover or loss of possession to the other team. The thought process behind this is that the ball is liable to move more erratically when hit in an uncontrolled manner like this, and could easily end up smoking a fan. The other danger is if a player throws a punch aimed at the ball and misses, it's probably going to hit somebody, which is not what the game's about. What basketball is about are the incredible displays of skills the players show off on the court. Game after game, year after year, the NBA's top talents outdo one another with showings of speed, strength, reflexes, and accuracy. And the NBA has a niche rule to allow for one of the unlikeliest cases. According to the rulebook, quote, "Any time a live ball is in flight from the playing court, the goal, if made, shall count, even if time expires or the official's whistle sounds," end quote. And shots bounced off the ground and into the net technically count as baskets. So while there's no recorded instance of this ever happening in NBA history, if a player were to shoot a full court buzzer beater bounce shot and it bounced and went in before time expired, it would count as possibly the greatest display in basketball history. Rain or shine, the game must always go on, even if, say, a disaster were to befall one of the teams. Fear not, because the NBA has a contingency plan, the disaster draft, which is held in the unlikely and unfortunate event that 5 or more of a team's players pass away. It's not a widely publicized rule, so as not to give any overzealous fans the wrong idea, but it exists to give a team a fair chance in the event of a plane crash or other such misfortune. They can take their pick of the 6 most valuable players from any other teams in the league, 1 per team, and they'll receive top picks in the next year's non-disaster draft, which is held in the unlikely and unfortunate event that 5 or more of a team's players pass away. It's not a widely publicized rule, so as not to give any overzealous fans the wrong idea, but it exists to give a team a fair chance in the event of a plane crash or other such misfortune. They can take their pick of the 6 most valuable players from any other teams in the league, 1 per team, and they'll receive top picks in the next year's non-disaster draft to boot. Though the rule has thankfully never been used, it's good to know it's there. For the time being, that's all for some of the NBA's stranger rules.
Alright, well that's gonna do it on that one. There's a lot of rules in here that I did not know about, especially this last one. That's like the most surprising one. You know what I'm saying? Like if 5 or more players on the team pass away, then a team, like, then that team gets to pick 5 of the most, or however she said, I forgot how many she said, but basically the best players in the league, right? And then they get to get like 5 top picks in the next draft. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy. I've never heard. There's a lot of these I ain't heard of. But anyway, shout out to the richest. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the richest. You know, link will be in the description down below. Like I said, I'll be watching a few videos today and posting them later on this week. But anyway, guys, without further ado. But anyway, guys, I totally messed up this outro. Anyway, guys, thank y'all for watching. And I'll see y'all in the next one. And like the Mamba said, I'm out.